the different divisions that are on here. Different divisions have different restrictions. For instance, the Division Ones can't even be on this right now. They're in a dead period because of COVID. But even for us at Division Two, like if you're not a junior right now or senior, we can't communicate with you. Doesn't mean you can't communicate with us, but we can't return phone calls or emails or that sort of thing. So if you're a 2023 grad or younger, you have to do the communicating because we're not allowed to communicate back with you. So send the information early and often, and go from there.
I would echo a lot of what Greg just said. Obviously, the emails, calling, huge part of the recruiting process. I would add a couple of things. One being preference for myself. A lot of coaches I know, we want to hear from you. Predominantly, we don't hear from parents, grandparents, family members. We want to hear from you and know more about you in this process. An exception to that maybe we would like to hear from a coach, one of your coaches, obviously more specifically with high school club coaches. I'm in constant contact with them, especially in the current climate. So they can reach out on your behalf. They know the process and what we're dealing with better than most. But if it's not them, we'd like to hear from you. The second thing, again, that is a little bit unique to the times we're in right now, but when this does change and when we get back to some normality, ID camps are a huge piece of the puzzle for me, mainly because it expedites the process for both parties. We get to see you in our facility. That means you've made the effort, so we know you're interested in us. And then also you get to see us and our facilities and our academic institution as a whole. I mean, ID camps could turn into an unofficial visit for the day. And so it really does help both parties. I have probably 10% I would go out and say right now that on my roster that have come from ID camps. So when we're able to get back up and running with camps, hopefully from this summer onwards, that would be a huge piece of the puzzle if you can get to camps that you're interested in.
Cool. I think we're all. Well, I'm going to share, probably echo a lot of the same thoughts. I think being the best way to be recruited is I kind of view it as like looking for a job or marketing yourself for a job, and I think it's really for players. It's all about hustle, not trying to hustle the coach, right? But you hustling to do the work. To communicate, to reach out, to seek opportunities. So I think for you, when you're looking at the college recruiting process, I think it's really important for you to identify several schools that you are actually interested in going to or playing at. And from there, then you can work on how do I build a relationship with that coach to have an opportunity to get on the roster. So it could be going to their ID camps, could be communicating when you're going to be at a showcase tournament and sending your schedule. It could just be, hey, you're sending them emails. Even if they don't respond, continuing to send them if you're really interested to try to get yourself some type of opportunity or get yourself a look. And I think for us at Albion, it matters, I don't know, just for anybody, it matters a lot to college coaches if you say, I really want to come to your school, and when you're genuinely interested and I want to go play at your school. So if a player, contacts us, I want to play at Albion College, we'll take a deeper look into their player profile and see if they meet some of those benchmarks that we want to. Yeah, we're interested. We want to at least get a look at you. So I think showing interest just matters a lot.
Yeah, kind of building off that, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but big thing for me right now, I'm getting a lot of game film through emails and stuff like that. Obviously during this COVID era, the big thing for me, make sure you identify yourself. I need to know what position you're playing. I need to know your number, your jersey number, because more than likely, if I can't identify you on the game film, I'm just probably going to turn it off and move on to something else. So make sure you identify yourself if you're sending over game film, and always include your game schedule in the email. it's really tough for me to make a decision without seeing people play in person. So always attach your game schedule, where it's going to be at, your number, just so we can identify you and stuff like that. But for me, game film is a good tool to send in an email, but it's not enough to make that decision. So I need to get out and watch you play. So always include that on the emails as well.
Hey, Camden, can I interject here and ask you a question about game film? So tell me, in your experience here as a coach, what kind of game film you remember as being the most exceptional? Is it, I mean, are you watching off the ball? Are you watching only on the ball? Is there been something that's been remarkable?
So I was actually talking about this with my head coach. We don't necessarily like highlight tapes and you showing all the good things you did. We like full game film because we want to see how you react in negative situations. We want to see how you treat your teammates. We want to see how you treat the ref when you think he makes a bad call. Like, we don't want to just see all of your good highlights. We want to see the good and the bad and everything involved with it. So we like to get full game footage and kind of watch a half, maybe if we're super interested, watch the full game. But we like to see who the full person is, who the full player is, and stuff like that. So
cool. Excellent. Thank you. On to Will and then Jeff with regard to best practices.
Some great info, especially about ID camps. But if I can go back to the emails real quick. Look, kids, you've got to stop copying and pasting. It needs to stop. You want to come play for us, you've got to put some time in, look up our programs, look up our win-loss records, look up how many players we're losing, look up our academics. I can't tell you how many emails I get. For example, Coach O'Neill, I want to come play for you at Lawrence Tech University. You know, right there, I'm going to delete it. Plain and simple. Game film, full game film. Every coach wants that full game film. The highlight tapes, if I see you take a bad touch first couple of minutes in, I mean, I'm going to lose my interest. Music, be smart with the music. But other than that, be relentless. I end my emails in relentless pursuit. You want to come play for us. I'm like a good-looking girl or a good-looking guy. Be relentless. Chase after in school. Go after them. Email, text, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I don't care what it takes. But whatever access you have, use that, and that'll stand out.
And I'll continue with what Will was saying about the highlights. If you're going to send a highlight reel, try to include 30 to 40 seconds before that highlight and 30 to 40 seconds after that highlight, so we get some context to what you were doing. I still believe anybody in this room of us coaches could feasibly put a highlight film together and still try to sell us as a product, as players.
Even today.
Yeah, without context, it doesn't do much good for us.
Yeah.
And then most of the guys before me have said a lot, but I'll just go with, you have to know the level, and I mean know it on a personal level. Don't go under the assumption that because a school is a Division I program, that you could play at a Division II and a Division III. Each one of these schools at said level are within a cycle, and I can only speak for us. In our last 4-year cycle, we would have had no problem playing at a Division I level. 4 years before that, not a chance. So don't just go by the hierarchy of D1, D2, D3, NAIA. You have to know the school and know the level and know their needs. And then one added bonus for us with the NAIA is you can make in-person personal visits and train for a day. So if you are truly interested, you can put together a daily plan to come see the school, get dressed, and train with the team to see if you're a good fit at that time for that program.
Cool. Excellent. So guys, awesome start to this whole thing. I want to just make sure that we know that if you're not talking and your mic's on, you might be giving some feedback to the whole group. So just be careful about that. If you're not actually speaking, it might be me, but I'm going to turn mine off starting off. I'm not talking. I want to open up just a few minutes here to see if anyone from the participant group has a question they'd like to ask. It could be in the chat feature or it could be verbalized here. You might want to raise your hand just so because we have 100 people in here. Are there any questions about this topic of best practices? Okay. I learned in my teacher education courses about the appropriate amount of wait time. You'd be surprised what that amount of time is, but it has to be silence or it's not wait time. So anyways, so moving on then, I want to ask a question to the panel. I think we'll start from Shuk and move up. So Shuk and then Will and then Camden, then Marco and then Michael and then Greg. How important is the social media piece to you guys as coaches? Meaning, do you go and look at social media to see what they've done personally and or with regard to the game? How important is the social media piece in the recruiting process?
I'll say it's more of it could get you knocked off more than it could get you built up. We look for high levels of character. So if your social media would show inappropriate actions or a lack of care for just common decency in society, we would discontinue any pursuit of that player. If it's just got highlights, we might watch it for a while, but it's not going to be a make or break thing on that. But it just comes down to defining you as a person, good or bad, and whether we continue to pursue you as a player.
I'll pause this question here because we have a question about the best practices from Thomas Isbrecht. He asks, what is the best angle for game film? We often play where there are no bleachers, so the angle may not be the best. Is it worth trying to find a higher angle or a better angle? And this is just open to the panel. If you guys want to.
The higher, the better. Once again, the more context to the video, being able to see gaps and seams between lines and what players are actually seeing. So a high pod, if you don't have access to a press box, works best for my own personal liking.
Okay.
I mean, there's also companies out there that you can look at bringing in and actually doing your game film. There's a couple of local guys that do a bunch of local college games, and they're expanding into recruiting tapes. But there's tons. I mean, even if you can't get up high, preferably me off to the angle by the corner. If I can get that, if you're on the right side or the left side. I can't speak for the other coaches, but that's me.
Y'all just say real quick on the film, it's become such an integral part of the recruiting process, but there's a couple things. One is you need to have good quality film, so it's not mom or dad holding an iPad on the sideline and are trying to film it off their phone and things of that nature. So get a good quality film. There's like Will just mentioned, there's a lot of companies. If you're at the right showcases, there's companies that are filming it. You can purchase. Your teams are probably now filming games as well. So good quality film. Then if you're sending full game film, send a timeline that says, I started the game at right back at 30-minute mark. I got switched to the left back at the 44th minute mark. I got taken out of the game. I came back in at this position. Some key highlights, some key moments that you want us to recognize in that game film, because we can't recognize you. We don't know where you're at on the film. And then secondly, with that same topic is I want to know who you're playing against. I can gauge whether or not what you're doing in the film is against a worthy opponent or who it is. So I want to know who you're playing against as well. So provide us with some additional information. But the film's not good quality, and we're not going to get anything out of it, right? And on the highlight film side, stack your highlights, your best highlight first. Don't wait for a big dramatic conclusion, because I'm already turned it off 30 seconds in if it's not going well, right? And then so make sure make sure you have highlights too before you make a highlight film. So sorry to roll in that.
Okay, there are some questions coming in here. I'm just going to read a couple of them from the chat feature. So Ryan asked, do you post your games so we can see the level of style and play of your program? I can answer that one and say, you guys can answer after me, but I have here as one of my notes that it's really important for you guys to go and visit colleges and go see them play. Go visit the college campus, go walk around the campus during a school day or during a school time. and go see that team play? Go ahead, panel. It's up to you.
Pretty much, if I can add on to that, pretty much every school, predominantly in our conference, Coach Shuk, videotapes or live streams our games. And if you go on the website, you can easily go on to on demand if that video is still up and watch it. Or for an example, LTU is paired up with State Champs High School Sports Show. They live stream our games and they post them on YouTube. That's an easy search as well.
And I'll just give a plug for Michigan Soccer Central here. I'm sure that all of these colleges represented tonight will be sending their live links to us from now on, and we'll be posting those. So that said, we're going to go back to this idea of social media. Back to, I don't know, let's go to Camden and then Marco and then Michael. If you guys have anything to say, if you don't have anything to say, you're welcome to pass on it.
Yeah, just kind of building off what Jeff said, I think social media can really only hurt you. There's no, in my opinion, it can't really benefit you all that much. Just an example of that, one of the former players I used to play with had a scholarship to a Division I level program and got his scholarship taken away because of something that he posted on Twitter. So you just have to be super careful and be just conscious of what you're even what you're retweeting, what you're favoriting, what you're liking, things like that. So you just got to be super. People are always watching, so you got to be careful about what you're doing on social media and just be smart.
Michael, and then Greg, and Marco, if you want to jump in too.
Honestly, I mean, I've got nothing to add to that. Again, exactly the same concept. Just make sure you're not hurting yourself with your social media posts.
The only thing I'll add is just a reminder that if I'm looking at, or my assistant coach, we go on social media and we do a little bit, use that as reference checks before we're making offers and making sure we know exactly who we're getting in the program. And if your profile is on private, then that's a red flag to us. You know what I mean? That means that you have stuff to hide. So it shouldn't be on private. If you have more than one account because you've got a recruiting account and your personal account, right? We're gonna look at both of those, and I turn that over to my assistant coaching staff that's a lot younger than me and a lot more adept at the social media stuff. But it's only like these guys have said, it's only hurt. I've never recruited somebody because they had a great social media presence. We're not looking for influencers here. We're looking for soccer players.
All right. So let's see if I didn't miss a question here. So I had a question here. It was about Mark. No, it was what is the Thaddeus Johnson asked, what is the best timing process in regards to girls versus boys in recruiting? Is there an ideal time of year for players or coaches to reach out to you? I think we'll start with, we'll go from the top down. So if you're going to Greg and then Michael and then Marco and then Camden and then Jeff, then Will, then Jeff.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's really an ideal time. It's like I said earlier in the process, it's early and often. Once you get in, you just got to get started and get going. And the process, obviously, as a women's coach, we're early. You know, we're it's just the way that the recruiting process has gone over the years in terms of the classes. We're ahead of the curve for the guys on the men's side of the game. So just getting involved and just getting in there and starting the process early. Our season's in the fall, right? So a lot of times it's tougher for us to get a lot of stuff done recruiting wise when we're in season. But our spring season is just as busy. So, there's a recruiting window, but for each class, it's a little bit different. And I think each program has their own little bit of a timeline on it. So there's not necessarily a specific, this is when you need to start. It's really up to you. When I'm in the process and when I have my first phone call with a recruit, I always ask them what their timeline is and what they're looking, when they want to be committed by. And we'll have players that'll commit now for the 2022 class. That's what we're working on right now. And, there's other programs that are still working on their 21s. And so it just depends across the board. So I know that's not a great answer, but really it's just be consistent.
Yeah, would agree with that. Again, like Greg said, the girls' side tends to be ahead of the boys' side. I think we have some of the big dogs in Division I to thank for that. We have to try and keep up with the Joneses in a lot of those situations. Now, me personally, our program, we probably set, and this can change sometimes, but normally on an average, a 2-year cycle. So right now I'm looking at 2022s, 2023s. Obviously the 2022 class, a little bit more advanced with some verbal commitments. 2023 is more on the identification process. But yeah, that 2-year cycle normally works for us. Anything outside of that, you're looking at like 2024s. I mean, so much can change, especially now, but so much can change in 2 years, in a year, in 2 years, but 3 years. I mean, we could be looking at a whole different roster or a whole different new recruiting class in terms of positions and what we're trying to achieve as a program. So that 2-year cycle on average has worked for us, and we'll probably stay true to that for the time being.
For us at Albion, it's pretty similar to the rest. I mean, it's probably we begin to build a player pool of players, just getting a vague idea of a sophomore class of, hey, did this, maybe this club, a vague understanding of the different levels of different club teams, so that we can, and talking with our personal connections with club coaches, and we'll maybe see them play at showcase tournaments before junior year, starting to really own in on, hey, we think that these, X amount of players can be game changers for us. So we focus on building relationships with them. And before I'm at the Division III level, most of the commitments come, beginning of senior year to almost the end of senior year. So I think it's a different timeline than Division II, and definitely Division I happens a little bit later. But I think, again, anyone who shows real interest with our program and we want to probably take a look at if they play at somewhat of a decent level. Yeah.
In our time, you going, Camden?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say our timeline's a little bit different with the NAIA because we recruit heavily overseas. So we've got players coming in from Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, Japan, Italy, all over the place. So we're trying to line those players up immediately. And we at the NAIA level, and I can't speak for the rest of the guys, but I know Will and myself, we carry 2 teams, and we have 2 autonomous schedules with our first team and our reserve team. So we're trying to fill the roster of 2 teams throughout these cycles, and then develop our late bloomers or future stars on our reserve team to get them up to first team quality within their first 2 years of playing.
Good. Go ahead, Camden.
I was going to say, for me, I'd much rather watch you play club or academy than watch you play high school. I'll get out to high school games here and there when I can, but just the level's higher with club and academy. So I'd much prefer guys reach out to me with that schedule rather than their high school schedule. But the high school games aren't bad to go to either, but I just would prefer to watch club and academy.
Great. I just have a question here, which is kind of a good one, I think. Mike Lindsley is asking, with COVID-19 and the current college players getting extended eligibility, how is it affecting 22 men's recruiting? Or beyond that even? And is it?
Oh, sorry. I'll go ahead and start this one. For me, for example, I originally was going to have 12 seniors graduate. 11 have decided to return next year. So that limits my options. Some of those seniors, I would like to, hey, it's been fun. See you later. But unfortunately, I've got to help them finish their degree. That's just how I am. The following year, again, I'm planning on losing 10 to 15. So it changes things. But with having 2 teams, we're going to have, like Coach Shuk talked about, those late bloomers, those diamond in the roughs. Great chance to come in, play on our reserve team, play 90 minutes instead of sitting and playing 5 to 10 minutes. But it's going to, I can't speak for the other levels, but I'm sure they're facing the same problems we are.
I think we'll just open this up if anyone, Greg or Michael or Camden, Jeff, you guys want to jump in?
I would just add something back to the timeline and just summarizing really, hearing everyone speak. Everyone's got different timelines they're working with. So again, it's horses for courses in this regard. Like, don't be disheartened if your best friend has got a verbal commitment to University of Notre Dame. That's not real life for a lot of us. And that doesn't mean that you have to go and rush the process now because your best friend is committed. Again, I almost feel like it's a domino effect, trickle down effect in terms of the big schools get the whole pool of athletes, and then slowly but surely the rest of us get to pick what's left over. So there is a timeline that works for all of us, and just stay true to the process. Don't rush it because people are working ahead of that timeline that you planned out.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I like the phrase that, run your own race, in terms of what your teammates are doing as well. And then on the waiver cycle, really this is a non-counting year for everybody. I think it's across the board, all divisions, all NCAA, NAIA divisions, from my understanding. We've got 12 seniors this fall. We've got 6 coming back for the fall of 21. Our junior class, for whatever reason, is for good reasons, they're graduating on time and moving on with their careers and med school and dental school and all that kind of stuff. But our sophomores, it's going to change. So it's going to be a 4-year process until we cycle all these student athletes out that have eligibility. I've got a player who will be a junior academically next fall, and she's still going to have 4 years of eligibility left because she redshirted last year. So she gets the waiver year. She's already got a redshirt year, and so I'm trying to talk her into staying and getting an MBA and going on to whatever graduate level classes I can get her to stay into because she's a great will player. So it's definitely going to change. What does that mean for you guys as recruits? It means you have to do your due diligence, get started early, be consistent, be tenacious, as everybody said, and also don't sit back and wait. And I think I said it when we started, and I hear a lot of at the Division II with the players that we're recruiting and talking to, and I'm sure Michael would share this with me. We hear a lot about the Division I dead period, and waiting on Division I, and we can't visit schools until April. I guarantee you that they're not waiting, even though they've got the dead period. They can't really say that, but you can go visit a college. They just can't invite you, and it can't be an official visit. But you can go to Michigan or Michigan State, for instance, and drive around campus, go to admissions, get a normal tour, and do everything else, and then get on a Zoom call when you get home with the coaches. So they're not recruiting right now. They just might not be recruiting you. So don't lose out on that offer or that opportunity that you might have a Division II school, Division III, NAIA, because you're waiting for that Division I phone call. While you're waiting for it, be talking to other coaches and be honest with them and feedback. And I think that's the biggest thing. As coaches, we chase to know, and as players, you should chase to know as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're not sitting back, but they're dealing with compliance issues. That's it, right? They're just making their compliance officers happy. Shaka wanted to be here, and Damon wanted to be here. The Notre Dame, Lawrence and Nicola from Notre Dame wanted to be here, but they couldn't because their compliance officers told them no. So, but they are still doing their recruiting. You're right, Greg. They're still doing what they need to do to see players and to see film and all that stuff. I agree. So, some good questions coming in here. I want to keep on this. Anything else from any of the coaches from the panel? Sorry, on that topic before I move on.
Yeah, real quickly, I think for everyone to know, there's always room for a good player. Every team always has room for a good player, always. So if you're good, like, hey, it's not going to be there's not enough space for you. It's because you're not good enough. That's the harsh reality of the situation. And that's okay, because there's another fit out there for you somewhere else. So, but there's always room for another good player on a team.
That's a good point. And every team, right? Not just college. And every team, there's room for a good player and a good human, good personality, right? Okay, another question in here, and this is going to lead into our next panel discussion question is, what role does GPA and ACT score play in recruiting? Before we go anywhere, I want to talk. My next question for the panel is, and we'll go Shuk. We'll go from NAIA up to D2. Shuk, Dyer, Buescher. Is it Buescher? It's Buescher, right, Camden? Buescher.
Buescher, yep.
Yeah. We'll go Dyer, Buescher, Bernardini, O'Neill, Henson. And the question is, and it's related to that GPA ACT score, is what is the financial impact for families or players at your institution or at your level? More so your institution, I'm sure, but what is the financial impact? What can players expect? And that would be with that component of academics, of course, and scholarship and GPA and ACT. And all. What's the financial picture look like at your institution?
I can only speak for ours. I'm sure it's different amongst all of our schools, but your GPA right off the bat and your ACT score, wherever that puts you, can set you up for a massive financial advantage. I think ours goes like 3.6 to 4.0 is a guaranteed like 12,000, and then it goes down 3.5 to 3.0, $2,000 down a ladder.
Yeah.
But more importantly for the GPA for us is any athlete at our institution who's over a 3.6, their academic money is not held against our program's total budget. And that is huge for us. So if you're at 3.6 and you're on the automatic, if that's $12,000 academic, and then we give you $10,000, we've just taken care of two-thirds of your tuition, and that's not held against our budget. We have a game day budget that we can't be spending more money than whatever the allocated figure is. So a player on 3.6 versus a player on 2.6 who are the same playing value, that player on a 3.6 GPA is exponentially more important to our program. And with the GPA, it also says a lot about your level of commitment to your education and the likelihood that you'll stay in good standing, where we don't have to put forth any stress to whether you're going to be eligible your junior or senior year. So those players, once again, with the high GPA and are not an eligibility problem, are just way more valuable to us.
I may go apply for a job in Madonna. At LTU, it's a little bit different. We have athletic and we have academic scholarships, but they come from the same pot. So if you come in and you have someone about a 3.6 GPA, you're looking at $12,000 to $16,000 academic, and I can stack athletic onto that. But unfortunately, for me, it all comes from one pot. So next year, I have, for example, school wants me at 58 total players for 2 teams. I have to be at about 40 to 41%. So right now, most of my kids get about 18 to 19,000 total in scholarship. That's athletic and academic. Every school is different. But for us, it's just, it comes from one pot. And the most that I can offer a player is $25,000. And that's total academic and athletic. So it's tougher for me. So I have to look mostly for the engineers and the architects, and trying to find an international player that can afford 20, 25 grand isn't that good. So we have to go mostly Americans, and find those diamonds in the rough and get them here.
Engineers and architects on the field or in the classroom, which is it, or both?
Both, baby. 7 years in a row. United Soccer Coaches Team Academic Award.
There you go.
We're going for 8 next year.
Cool. Camden?
So I'm sure Marco will agree with this, but for us at the Division III level, it's a little bit harder for us to recruit, I would say, just because purely on the fact we can't give athletic scholarships. So it just makes your academic performance that much more valuable, because you get your money from that and you get your money from financial aid. So it's just way later in the process for us, because we have to wait for all these financial aid packages to come out so these kids have a decent idea of what they're going to be paying, because we don't want kids to make a commitment to come play for us and not have a really good idea of what they're going to be paying. So it's just a little bit later for us in the process, and it just makes your academic performances that much more important, because that's where a lot of your money comes from at the Division III level. ACT and SAT, from my understanding, the panel can correct me if I'm wrong, but the ACT and SAT can't hurt you right now. It can only help you. So keep taking your ACTs, keep taking your SATs, because they can't hurt you. So, but yeah, at the Division III level, academic performance is essential.
I'll try and expand a little bit more about Division III model, how it works. So because at Division III we can't give out any athletic scholarships, I think it's unique in what, and can be a good fit for maybe what you're looking for. So it's more focused around having a good life balance, of where the fall is really great focus on soccer. And then, but just like any other program, but then after that, it's what you make it. It's what you make it. So you certainly have an opportunity to put all your effort into soccer, and improve as a player. But at the same time, right, there's plenty of opportunities for you to do other things as well. And that's, I think, the Division III mission or motto, where you can really focus on academics and future opportunities. But financially, at Albion, the sticker prices can be a shocker, but it's the same as any other small school, where right off the bat, if you're a presidential scholarship, if you can qualify for that, which is, I think it's the bracket is maybe it's 3.8 GPA to 4.0 GPA or something. And it's $32,000 right off the bat. And then the next bracket below that is $28,000 a year, and it goes lower and lower. But so I think academics are really important. But overall, from my understanding, is when you fill out your FAFSA, at every school, the institution comes out with what they call a EFC, or expected family contribution. So a number where that's the number that your family can, that they based on your tax information, your household income level, that your family can pay or can contribute. And each school, whatever bracket you fall in there, each school has, if you're in this bracket, you're going to pay this much. And so they're going to meet your need based on, different opportunities available to them. Academic scholarships, federal aid, grants, student loans, federal student loans, private student loans, to make it manageable for you. So I encourage you, and I think, each school will be a little bit different, but it's going to be similar. It's going to be really similar. And so I think for you, explore, find a really good fit for you, find a couple really good fits for you, and have a tier list and go through the process and see what that financial aid process gets back before you make a decision. Or if you have a really good offer or opportunity from a scholarship program, you can, make your choice at that time. You don't want that opportunity to go away. And I know they put pressure on players to get responses because they need answers. So, but yeah, I encourage you to go through the process and look at different schools, different levels to see where you'll be at financially.
If I can interject here, this is kind of toward Camden and Marco a little bit. So Camden played at Northwestern University in his college career, and Marco played at Spring Arbor, correct, Marco? So Camden played the D1 level, Marco played at the NAI level, and are now coaching at the D3 level. Talk to me, because you got kind of both touched on a little bit. Talk to me about the difference here, that commitment that you might see to players at the D3 level, because they are not, in fact, getting college scholarships. Is there a connection that's a little bit different, or not?
So the biggest difference for me is the spring season. So at the Division III level, what you can do in the spring is super restricted compared to the Division I level. So I think, I don't know the exact, it's either like 15 or 16 days that we get to train, and then 1 or 2 days of competition. So our spring season is super short, super quick. I know a lot of our guys like to take their tougher, more strenuous classes in the spring just because our soccer schedule is so restricted in the spring. But being at the Division III level for 2 years now, that's something that I've realized was a kind of a big change from the Division I to the Division III level.
I mean, echo Camden. Yeah, that's a big difference for our women's team. I think the spring semester is normally not this spring we're playing, which is exciting, but it's an opportunity for them to focus on academics, focus on, they have the opportunity to study abroad and do different things, or focus on their career and internships. And coming from Spring Arbor, coming from an NAIA program where I only cared about soccer, man. So that's all that's my main focus. And I loved that part. But, I think it's the Albion way, we'll say, is very valuable, because the women in our program, I'm like, I just, wow, they're going places, you can feel that, and you can see them going places afterwards. So I really value that. I think they take advantage of that opportunity really well. And for them, as what they want to do, it's a good fit for them, because that's why they end up at Albion, because they're looking for that balance. Whereas for me as a player, I only want to play soccer. That wouldn't have been great for me, so that wouldn't have been where I wanted to be. But it can be for that's why I think for every player, find the fit for you. Find what you're looking for, and you have to know and find out about yourself, and know yourself to know what you want.
But every team you played for, Marco, that was a good thing, that you just wanted to play soccer, right?
I hope so.
Michael, and then Greg, just on this topic of the financial snapshot, right, or the contribution, or what it looks like to be at the D2 level or at your institution.
Yeah, so real quick, the D2 model is slightly different to those what you've heard before. We can stack all forms of aid, and they will all come out of separate pots. So, for example, many student athletes on my roster receive academic aid, athletic aid, government aid, and private scholarships on top of that. And again, it doesn't impact our budget. So to add some context to that, there are individuals on my roster that have very good packages, 80%, 90% full ride, but aren't hurting my budget specifically. So they may be on, 25% athletic aid, but their overall package is up near 80%, 90%. So again, that's a huge luxury for us. To relate that to the initial question, obviously that means that the GPA and the standardized tests are extremely important in every aspect. The higher quality scores that you're bringing in, the more money that you're going to receive. And so the bigger package ultimately is the end game. Again, I would add that the standardized test isn't required right now. So again, it can help you, but I know a lot of individuals, a lot of girls on my team that had 4.0 GPAs but weren't great test takers. So this recruiting class, and I believe the next recruiting class in dialogue I've had with our admissions, so the 2022s will also be in the same bracket. Take advantage of your GPA. Get that as high as possible, because you're going to have an advantage that the other classes didn't have, where they needed an SAT, an ACT to provide that academic aid and that sliding scale. So really take advantage of the situation. Try and get A's, B's in your classes, and you'll reap the rewards here in these next 2 years, especially.
So I agree with most of what was said in terms of the importance of the GPA and ACT, SAT scores. Is academics are huge. Academics play such a vital role in your the ability. Something Marco said earlier about, good players always find a way. If you're a great player with bad grades, you're probably still going to find a way onto a roster and onto a team. But when it comes down to it, if I get the choice between two players, I'm taking one with the better grades. It's going to probably be a little bit cheaper for my budget when we stack between athletic and academic aid. And plus, players that are good players and I think your academic standing is one of those things when it comes to when we're checking the references that indicate that, you got goals and you set goals for yourself and you achieve those goals. And so Our team, I've been here for 3 semesters now at Ferris, and our team's had over a 3.7 average GPA each semester that I've been here. So I'm admittedly one of the dumbest people in the room when we have a team meeting. So I'll go on record as saying that. But so academics is huge, and that's what we want. We're ultimately, with all the coaches that are on the call today, you can't say there's 100% certainty, but most likely if you come to play for any of us, you know, your soccer career is going to end at the end of your college career. So you're going professional, and something else, you always see that NCAA advertisement during March Madness. So a lot of times you're going to be moving on to somewhere else. We want to make sure academically you're going to be in a good spot. In terms of the other part of this question with the financial, I think burden, or however David had phrased it, but basically that's what we're talking about, the financial impact and going to college. On the women's side, Division I, 14 athletic scholarships, max. Division II, 9.9. Division III, 0. NAIA, I was a former NAIA coach myself, and it's a little bit of a different deal, but it's really kind of 12, I think it was the number, maybe 14 full ride. And I'm talking full rides. So 14 full rides D1, 9.9 full rides D2, none for D3, and NAIA's got a little bit of a different model. But what I'm trying to state is very few people are getting a full athletic scholarship. You're going to pay out of pocket to go play college soccer. That's just the landscape that we're in. Academics will help offset some of that cost, but there's very few full rides no matter what the division is. Most colleges, I think if you look at it, somebody had asked in the comment section about, 2 teams, and some of the coaches on here talked about their reserve teams. But even schools that don't have 2 teams, the average right now, I think, is between 25 and 30 players per roster. And I just mentioned that the most that offer full rides is 14 for women's soccer. Men's Division I, I believe, is 9.9. Last time I'd kind of seen that, so I think that's correct. So 30 players, if it's a women's program, it's fully funded, and that's fully funded. 14 full rides are carrying 30 players. That means either 14 are full rides and half are freebies, or they're all dividing it up. So be prepared. You're going to pay out of pocket to go to college and play soccer. You got to find out what's financially reasonable for you. Last thing I'm going to add, and stop rambling on, but I think this is another piece that's really important. If you go to each of our websites right now for the colleges that are on this call and you look at it, my website might have our 2020 tuition. Coach Dyer's might have 2021 already up. They might already be talking about what the tuition is for the fall of 21. Coach Shuk's school might have the tuition or scholarships for this year, but Coach O'Neill's is showing the scholarships for next year. Every school works on their own timeline and what's updated on the website. So make sure when you're comparing offers and you're comparing numbers, scholarships, tuition, room and board, etc., you're comparing apples to apples, and you're looking at the bottom line, because there's price tags that are huge, and there's schools out there that start off at 30 grand. There's other schools that start off at 12. But look at the bottom line number, not the overall amount. So not the amount of the athletic scholarship, and not the amount of the initial tuition cost. Look at the bottom line total. That's what matters to you. That's what you're writing the check for.
It's a good point, Greg. I like that. Anything else from the panel that you didn't get a chance to say about any of these topics, or you want to just want to interject?
Yeah, I don't want to be a wet blanket to end this, but you have to make your choice for your college on the overall experience of everything. Unfortunately, life throws bad moments at all players, and the worst thing that could ever happen is to have a career-ending injury, and you chose your 4-year plan at an institution that was just for soccer, and then soccer's taken away. So make sure when you're choosing this, you choose somewhere that you want the academics, the social aspect, the size of it, the location, and the athletics all as one big package, because we are just all one moment away from not playing again.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think a lot of the guys on the panel here could talk about what they thought they were going to do with the game, right? And what the game when the game ended for us, right? Or for them, sorry. And I came into college, Marco, I could echo what you said. I came into college thinking, all I cared about was the game. But because I went to a school I went to a school like Aquinas College, and I got a love for education and reading and writing. And that was because of soccer, but it was soccer that took me to education. And I'm now a professor in a university and a high school teacher. And I'm telling you what, it's so important, some of the information that we're being given today about looking at the complete picture, the bottom line, the whole campus, the whole atmosphere, everything about it's not just the game. Yes, the game brings us there. Yes. And that's important. And the game is important. But these guys have told you again and again, look at the big picture and look at everything. And that's what last thing I'm going to say. Any other quick questions from any participants that weren't answered or touched on that you'd like to ask? Real quick here, a few minutes. You can put them in the chat feature, and the coaches might answer them, or we'll look at that, or maybe we'll voice them, or you can verbalize them if you'd like.
No, I'll just say one thing about those that's in the chat. And I tried to answer. I don't know if it gets lost in the chat or not, but somebody asked about goalkeeper film, and film your training session with your goalkeeping coach. So that's in an unedited version. So go 30-minute training session with your goalkeeping coach, film it, put the camera on a tripod behind the coach, and just let it roll. And that's the best way for us to see you in an environment, because it's the hardest position for us to recruit as goalkeepers. Because if we do get to a game, you might take 3 pass backs and a goal kick, and that's all she wrote, because the other team never tests you. So.
Okay, thanks, Greg. If anyone else is going to jump in, that's fine. But I will say this before anyone leaves: this has been recorded, and I'll probably edit this a little bit just to get rid of some of if there's some dead time or whatever. But this link will be put up on the Michigan Soccer Central social media platforms or the webpage that we have. We're webpage starting here soon as well. So, anything else from the coaches, the panels, or participants? This is the appropriate amount of wait time that you just heard. Okay. I will say this, signing off here. I want to thank Greg Henson and Michael O'Neill and Marco Bernardini and Camden Buescher and Will Dyer and Jeff Shuk for coming out tonight and sharing their expertise with us and being here. They're all lovers of the game and friends of mine. And I thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. I'll be calling on you in the future too. Well done, everyone. Thanks for showing up, participants. Well done. Enjoy the game.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
See you, everybody. See you, Heath.
See you, Mark. Good to see you, buddy.
Bye.
Greg, good to see you too, buddy.
Take care, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Next time you get on one of these calls, you're going to tell a story. I'm just kidding.
Find one that's appropriate. We'll see you.
Good to see you. Josh, what are you up to? Bradford, you there?
I'm here.
Would you like that?
One second, let me step out. Say it again.
Was that pretty good?
Yeah, I think that was great.
Yeah, I thought so too. What are you doing? What are you up to?
I'm still in Scottsdale, so I'm at a bar.
Oh, well
My
done
home
by you.
bar.
Well done by you. Did you say your own bar?
Yeah, there's a bar we go to. We got one of the owners here is a good friend of mine, so we try to stay here often.
Cool. I like Scottsdale.
Oh God, it's great.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? All right, well, I'm gonna sign off here and get this link to Dan. We're gonna get this up on the website soon, or on the social media platforms. I thought it went really well. So
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Are the questions recorded as well from the chat?
I just scrolled through the chat, yeah, and so all the questions could be seen.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool. Dave, great work, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. See you soon. Take care.
Yeah, cheers.
Ciao.